This conference will now be recorded.
The council meeting of May 5th, 2020 will now please come to order. Due to this meeting being a virtual meeting, council is asking if anyone who would like to address council that is participating through your computer, if you could please use the chat feature now to let us know that you have a comment, and we will call on you during the comment portion of the meeting. If you are calling on a phone and do not have access to the chat feature, we will give directions during the public comment portion of our meeting for you to participate. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Broussard.
Present.
Mr. Glassburn.
Here.
Ms. Heeman.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Limpert. Mr. Schuman.
Here.
Ms. Williamson.
Here.
If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of April 21st, 2020 are approved as written. The following legislation will be considered for suspension of the rules this evening on first reading, ordinance 2020-54. Mayor Kennedy, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, I do, and thank you. First of all, I want to thank Marie Gallo for getting me a Surface Pro for today. I feel much better than the last meeting, and I also hope that everyone out there, your family's doing good and safe and healthy during this trying time. I want to report that as far as workers at City Hall, no one has tested positive for COVID-19. Also in our senior centers and nursing homes, which was one of my major concerns as it started months ago, no one that I'm aware of has tested positive. So that's a really, really positive thing. And we have spent a little bit over $27,000 on PPE and are well stocked up. I had Don send council out a list of inventory of what we have. And so hopefully you've gotten that, and we'll keep you updated on that. Also, bulk pickup and yard waste are back to normal schedules. Bulk pickup will be picked up this Thursday, the 7th, and Springvale Golf Course is open to the public. And Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Law Director Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have some brief comments. First, I want to mirror the mayor's comments. I hope all are doing well, and I wanted to extend some thanks to the hard work that's going on at City Hall to try to make things, to the extent possible, normal, even though it's very difficult to do. I know that Director Lieber has been working with on the telecommunications side of things, along with Chuck Massarolo, our clerk. And Director Lieber has worked to get the Planning Design Commission meetings up and running, and the BZBA meetings up and running. So that's, I think, been a significant development. I know that in some communities down in Southern Ohio, there haven't really been any successful efforts to get these meetings up and running. So I think we've seen some good work pay dividends. A couple of comments. I mentioned those two meetings. Thirdly, most of you know, but I'll remind you, there is a Charter Review Commission meeting for May 7th at 7 p.m. That's this week. There's a number of suggested topics of discussion that will be up for discussion that evening. Like this meeting, it will be handled through the GoToMeeting app. So we've got some success with that now, so hopefully this will be just as successful. So if you can have an opportunity to participate, to log in and share your comments, that would be really good, because I think it's got the opportunity for a really interesting discussion. Second, and finally, there's been some discussion. I don't know if you've seen it in the media about criminal activity, things like domestic violence, people being in the home, unusual home settings that may create tensions that could result in an increase in domestic violence activities. So I did speak today with Prosecutor Gordillo and Chief Wagner, and we're not seeing that here in North Olmsted. For example, in the time period from this year, from the 16th of March to present, we've had a total of 10 calls for domestic violence, and we've had a total of 6 arrests. In a similar time period last year, we were dealing with a total of 19 calls and 11 arrests. Not every call is characterized as a domestic violence. It might be assault, what have you, but the arrests are hard numbers. We know those numbers. So we're not seeing a significant increase in that. And anecdotally, I wanted to share that with you because I've heard that comment from several different sources about the possibility of increased violence in the home. At least not from our prosecutor standpoint, and we're not seeing that same type of behavior from the police department. So I think that's a good thing, and I wanted to share that with you. Otherwise, we're continuing to do what we do, and we have the prosecutor and law department continue to work on prosecutions. The court is slowly getting itself back up to speed, and we would hope by the end of the month to see a more normalized process over there. But we're still working on it. Things are going as well as can be, and I just wanted to share those comments with you. So thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me, Madam President?
Thank you,
There we
Director. Finance Director Copford, do you agree with this evening?
Hold on.
I always forget to turn that little microphone thing on. All right. I know that I sent this information out to council last week, and we've been working on trying to refine our revenue projections, how much in reductions 2020 we're going to have to deal with. And as I said in the previous meeting, it's too early to tell in some things, but we do recognize that there are some numbers that we feel pretty confident that we're going to be losing at this point. And it's about 1.7, almost 1.8 million in the general fund of revenues from income tax collections, which is the withholding from all the places that are closed. We won't get that back. And net profits, which I don't know if you recall last year when we were talking, they were very high in the first 9 months of the year because companies make estimated payments and make payments in when they think they're having a good year. And we are already $400,000 behind this year from last year in net profits, as I suspected, because it greatly fluctuates. That's why you can't really rely on it. I did factor in a decline in that, so I'm hopeful that it won't go further than that. Additionally, interest rate income. The Federal Reserve, the Fed has reduced the interest rates, which is great when you're borrowing money, but when you're trying to invest money, that's a big problem. We, as the mayor said, we have $30 million that we can invest on any one day. However, when you're not getting a return and you're paying bank fees for holding it, sometimes it's a detriment almost. We still have $10 million that we did in the 5-year ladder program with it started out with Morgan Stanley and it's with UBS Financial now. So we do have monies that are laddered in the laddered approach that are earning higher interest rates than what we're earning right now. So we expect that of the $500,000 that we estimated, we probably will only get, we'll lose 300,000. So we think that we'll for sure get 200,000 in interest income. And I definitely am going to continue to revise these numbers as things get clearer as the months go on. Admissions tax, the movie theater's been closed, and even if they open, I don't know that people will be going to the movie theaters to sit next to people. So I expect that to decline by 35,000. The mayor's court, the court costs, and also the fines, we expect probably about 316,000. And that the stop tickets have also been halted, which that really factors into our court docket. So until those start resulting in more tickets being written again, I expect that we'll be looking at that number closely to make sure that it is the close and appropriate amount. EMS funds, the runs are down about 20 a month, which equate to about $90,000. So we feel pretty confident that we're probably going to be down that for the next few months at least. So we are factoring that into our revenue reduction, which 50% goes to the general fund and 50% goes to EMS fund. Hotel motel, I mean, we're barely receiving anything because nobody's going to hotels. No businesses are traveling, and so we expect that, which funds police and fire and safety equipment, we expect that to be dramatically cut or reduced in this year. The street maintenance fund, the gas tax, and also to a lesser extent, the state highway fund, those monies are probably, there's like, I think I have 47% listed here. And I think that was an article about how much traffic has declined on the highways. And also gas prices are less. So I think we get a smaller stake in it. So we expect that to be 400,000, which it had just been increased in October of last year. So we just saw an increase in it. So we're seeing a decline in it again. Recreation, we have specific revenue reductions for the first couple months that we've been closed. And until we really know a little more, I think we need more information as to what our plan is to opening again. When the governor allows it, I think we'll have a better indication of what our revenue stream is going to be for the rest of the year. One big ticket item is the summer camp program that we're still waiting on hearing what the governor is going to say regarding summer camps. Springvale, while the ballroom is losing monies because obviously they can't hold the weddings, several golf outings have canceled, and but we can get open golf because the golf course won't be closed for those outings. So the net impact is $376,500 revenues to Springvale that are declined. And as income taxes for the Permanent Improvement and Solid Waste Recycling Fund are $234,000 each, which the permanent improvement is for street and storm improvements, and solid waste and recycling is just for that. So it is daunting, and when you look at and we discussed the cuts that we made in the budget, I do agree with the mayor's comments earlier that we addressed it quickly. We faced it and stopped major purchases immediately, and worked on the things that we could work on to get this budget down. Now, and so we've cut it by $1.5 million at this point, so for the general fund. Then there's also one other item is that when we talk about where we were and where we are now, a lot of things that happened in 2008, we did not have the financial flexibility that we have now. Now, is it going to carry us through a 5-year where we can keep, moving funds around and making decisions? No, but definitely next year, I think that we still have financial flexibility in our budget, and we're not using our budget stabilization fund this year as of yet. My plan was to stop any monies going into these special funds because once they're in those funds, like for example, workers' comp fund, which has enough money in the fund to last, the separation fund, and a couple others, once it gets in there, then it has to be expended for that specific purpose. But if we don't transfer the monies, then we have the flexibility to make that determination down the road if we can make those transfers or we don't this year, and make sure that those funds are working as they should. So I don't have all the answers. This is a very fluid situation, and I believe that the next couple months will be very telling, and hopefully they'll give us a better indication of how long this is going to last so that we can make plans. We've always been able to manage and been proactive, and I know that in the past Moody's has recognized that management, and that includes council and the administration, working together to make sure that we're in a balanced situation and that we're still providing the services. So we're being very financially responsible. So I look forward to making having more discussions regarding this, and please feel free to call me. I am working at the office, and you also have my cell number if you need to get a hold of me, and I'd be more than happy to discuss specific situations if anyone is concerned regarding that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. Moving into council committee reports, Councilman Broussard, Chairman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williamson, Chairwoman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schuman, Chairman of the Finance Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
I do. I actually just a moment of privilege, if I could. I have no finance report. The Frostville Farmers Market is going to be opening up on the 23rd of this month. There's going to be a lot of special precautions taken. It's Saturday the 23rd from 9 to 9:30 for seniors and folks with compromised immune systems. And then it'll run from 9:30 to 1 o'clock. The market is going to be following the governor's recommendations and rules that they've got set down. So we've gotten a clearance from the Metro Parks to do it, and I think I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from people about being able to open it up again. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Environmental Control Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
No report. Thank you, Madam President, but I would like a moment of privilege, please. I'd like to personally thank Director Glonner and all of our safety and service workers for continuing to do an amazing job. Every single complaint that I've gotten, and I think that I've gotten more than usual, I think because folks have a little bit more time to ponder while they're home, have been responded to quickly, taken care of quickly, and each and every resident has been satisfied. So thank you all to our employees who continue to work and provide our services. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. I do. The Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee met this evening, May 5th, 2020 at 7 p.m. virtually on GoToMeeting. Present were committee members Kelly, Heeman, and Broussard, council members Glassburn, Schuman, Limpert, and Williamson, Council President Jones, Mayor Kennedy, Director of Finance Kopfer, Director of Human Services Gallo, Director of Planning and Community Development Lieber, Recreation Commissioner Drensky. The committee met to discuss 2 grants the city was recently awarded. Council had concerns about the city expending funds on the community park walking path and the Butternut Ridge Pocket Park at this time because of budget uncertainty due to COVID-19. The administration presented a new proposal with reduced costs for the two projects, and after a lengthy discussion and questions, we are holding this off till next Tuesday. And we ended at 7:50.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you for joining us at our council meeting tonight. At this time, council will hear comments from the public. Please remember to state your name and address for our clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. We will start with those who have notified us via chat. If there is anyone who did not notify us via chat, and you would like to comment, please unmute your phone and start your comment when prompted. Our council clerk, Chuck, has anyone notified you that they would like to comment besides Mr. Jark?
No, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Then we will begin with Mr. Jark. Your comments, please, sir.
Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for having me. My name is John Jark. I am a 12-year resident of North Olmsted. I'm also the president of the board of the Homeowners Association of Bretton Ridge Development. So my family and I have been in North Olmsted and been pretty involved in city for quite a while. Just within the last couple of days, one of the things I wanted to bring in front of council is something that myself and a couple of other residents of Bretton Ridge had expressed interest in making some adjustments to some city code. In particular, what the question was about had to do with chickens, believe it or not, and maybe amending some of the codes that exist around the ability to have residents or residential neighborhoods allow them to have small collections of chickens. You know, given what we are experiencing now with food supply and with sustainability and environmental kind of consciousness, you know, my children and I have talked about sustainable food sources and responsible use of land and care for the environment and things like that. And they had expressed interest in looking at whether it's possible to raise chickens in the city of North Olmsted. They, of course, were not talking about goats or cows or ducks or anything like that, but had a particular interest in chickens, not only for eggs, but also for meat. And once kind of the communication got started around our neighborhood, there were a lot of other people who were also interested in that. Now, of course, the city code for residential chickens limits a coop to be in proximity to a house by, I think it's 200 feet, which in my neighborhood makes it impossible to have even the smallest of chicken coops just based on lot size. So the proposal, you know, and I'm always a person who likes to kind of come before a problem with also a proposal or a potential solution of some kind to put before council, would be to you know, not change a lot of the provisions that are in place with regard to the size of a flock of chickens that you might be able to keep, or even the amount of, you know, limiting, you know, no roosters, things like that. Wouldn't be asking for ducks or even goats or sheep or cattle or even turkeys for that matter. But to maybe look at, there's a city provision 505.19 where chickens are listed as a prohibited animal within a residential neighborhood. And so maybe just removing chickens from that list of domesticated farm animals. And then the second kind of request or proposal would be to look at some of the zoning provisions in particular, where I think it's 1135 that says for 1 and 2 family residences, the specific distance is within 200 feet of a dwelling of any adjacent lot or street line. And maybe the proposed change could reduce that number from 200 to say 50 or 60 feet. And that would still allow people to raise a small, modest flock of chickens, but also keep the chicken coop away from residential properties and plot lines. So that would be my proposal. So thank you very much for considering that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Jark. And council will consider visiting those issues. And we could certainly let you know if council does propose something, and then also when that committee meeting would be. I see that Councilman Heeman and then Councilman Schuman both would like to respond as well.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Jark, I'd like to recommend to you in the interim, there is a family farm. It is called Elm Run Farms, ELMRUN Farms, and they do participate at the Frostville Farmers Market. When the market was closed, I was able to secure a delivery place for them at the Friends Church. They will be coming there this Saturday for their delivery. You can go to their website, order online. It has to be prepaid, but they just put it in your trunk. I have been shopping with them for, Sandy, now for probably 10 years. And they have beef, chicken, and pork. I highly recommend all of their products. So in the interim, that might help you because, yes, I do understand the shortages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman.
Yeah, John, Mr. Jark, you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Paul. Thanks.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and reach out to me during the week, and maybe we could talk about turning this into some kind of legislation and moving it forward. Okay.
Perfect. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thanks very much, Councilman Schuman.
Take care.
One more thing, Mr. Jark, for the record, if you could please state your address for our clerk.
Absolutely. We live at 6357 Stafford Drive in North Olmsted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anyone on the phone that would now like to address council? Seeing no other comments, we will now move into business legislation.
Legislation on first reading. Ordinance 2020-53. An ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, introduce and place on first reading.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2020-54. An ordinance repealing North Olmsted Ordinance 2020-51, entitled an ordinance establishing temporary emergency authority of the mayor and declaring an emergency.
I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President?
Councilwoman Heeman.
I'd like to move for suspension of the rules on 2020-54. We discussed this in caucus this evening, and the original intent of the legislation was, in fact, to, put us through the immediate crisis of our coronavirus, COVID-19, which we have now solved through GoToMeeting. And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding ordinance 2020-54, please speak now.
Madam President?
Councilwoman Heeman.
Hearing none, I'd like to move to adopt 2020-54 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-54 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-54 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2020-55, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an amendment of the sewer service area defined by Exhibit B of the sewer service agreement with the County of Cuyahoga as amended and restated in 2013.
Madam President,
There.
I'd like to introduce place on first reading.
Thank you. Moving into scheduling our council committee meetings for next Tuesday, May 12th on go-to meeting. Councilwoman Williamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to schedule a Building, Zoning, and Development Committee meeting at 7 p.m. for Extra Space located at 24002 Lorraine Road. That meeting will last until 7:10, and I request that the Planning and Development Director be present and anyone else she deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to schedule an environmental committee meeting to discuss 2020-55 at 7:10 to 7:20. If Mr. DeFranco, our engineer, could be there, and Director Gloner, and I believe if Ms. Lieber is required also, that would be nice to have all three. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to schedule the Recreation, Public Parks and Buildings to finish the discussion on the two grants for the Pocket Park and the walking path from 7:20 to 7:35, please.
Thank you. And Councilman Schuman.
So we're going to call a Finance Committee meeting for 7:35 on the 12th, and this will be discussed the transfer ordinance 2020-53. And of course, I'd like to have the finance director there, and certainly would invite all the other directors that might have interest or an impact on this discussion, and anybody else that the finance director feels is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of May 5th, 2020 is adjourned at 8:34 p.m.